Hey everybody, Shan and Jewel here from Travel RT Adventures.
Hello. Today we are in
Angels Camp, California at the museum
and visitor center.
and visitor center. Join us on our great adventure.
Yes.
This is just Jenny. A steam tractor. Camp 9 Powerhouse Pelton Wheel. Oh wow.
Hopefully.
Look at that, it's for mining.
Yeah, it's a bucket line thing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
There's old Beth over there.
I know, we got to get a picture of that one too. My camera was kind of dirty.
Home of the Jumpin' Frog Jubilee. All the different little froggies.
In their quest for jump perfection, a few elite bullfrogs have found an even more powerful teacher than nature. The great American frog jockey. This is frog jumping.
Mark Twain.
The monitor.
The monitor. Oh yeah, that's what they do to break down all the hard dirt. Beautiful.
Yes, it is. I got big. That's a nice big tree.
And he struggled all the rest of his life looking for gold and never really amounts to anything. He struggled the rest of his life looking for gold.
Gold Rush timeline.
My hearing's really bad. So I'd be happy to walk around and tell you a few stories.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
I'm going to walk these people around, tell them some stories. You're
Okay.
welcome to join in.
Great, thank you. Here's the old bar.
This is the 1876 Steinway, and these are called the square brand, even though they're rectangle. And they made this shape so they could fit 3 on a ship in the same space a grand piano was taking up on the ship. So about 8 years later, the upright came about, and the train was starting to bring those out. So they were, but this probably came by ship around the Horn of South America. They dropped one in Monterey, one in San Francisco, one in LA, and the one from San Francisco made its way up here. So pretty cool that we have this. Still plays pretty well.
Wow.
This is a hearse from our local undertaker. So in a small town and the fever's going around, you don't want to bother the family on who's sick and dying. So as the hearse goes through town, the feather plumes would indicate the age of the person. So all white would be somebody young in the family. White and black would be parent age, middle age. All black would be an elder or somebody important in the community. Mr. Carley used this wagon to pick up bodies, take them to the mortuary, have the funeral, then off to the cemetery. They'd lace the horses in black or white netting, depending on the person's age. And actually that movement kept horseflies and bees from biting them. You don't want the horses rearing up and taking off running. Blows the dignity of the whole thing. The handles on a casket were known as a hackle, the guy that created it. So if you're in the South, that evolved into a slang of a huckleberry. Instead of a hackle, a huckleberry. So if you're about to pass, you might ask somebody to be a huckleberry, and that meant carry the casket. Well, that's not very dignified. The cloth they drape over the top, known as a pall, and it got to be known as a pallbearer. Actually, a rancher couldn't afford a big production like this, and they'd have a cemetery on the ranch. If a rancher fell off his horse, hit his head, drifted off into a coma, they didn't understand what a coma was. So Mr. Carley would pick him up, clean him up, put him in a nice pine box, bring him out to the ranch. They would open it up in the front room. Family would say their goodbyes. They give him about a week to wake up, and if they didn't, they buried him. And that became known as a wake at a funeral. They hope he woke up.
Wow.
Well, there's a story of a guy being lowered in the ground, and that wiggling around wakes him up, and he starts screaming and yelling. They pull him up. Scares everybody so much. Word gets around. People started to request a line tied to a bell, so if they woke up, they could ring it, and that became known as a dead ringer. Now, if there was several bells in a cemetery, somebody had to stay there all night and listen in case somebody rang, and that became the graveyard shift.
Wow.
That is great knowledge.
That
Wow.
is.
I spent enough time talking
Look at
about
that stagecoach.
This here was built down in Stockton area about 1870, and Ethel here had dairy cows up in the town of Murphy's. Would milk her cows, fill up tins, separate the cream, make butter, and deliver milk and butter to everyone in the town. Very unusual for a woman to have a business back in those times, so she took her mother's maiden name and added a Mrs. to it. So the gossip in town was, oh, I can't believe that her husband allows her to deliver milk. I can't. But she hung in there for years and was the milk lady. This was also used to deliver milk in the town of Malones. When the gold rush started, Mexico owned California. All the gold along the river there looked like watermelon seeds, and Malones is melon in Spanish. My Spanish is not very good, but close enough. In the 1970s, they dammed the river, flooded the town, and now it's called New Malones, the big reservoir. These bottles came along later, but when they rattled in the wagon, the cream would rise up in there. And there was a little plunger you could seal the milk off and pour the cream off separate. None of that 1% stuff.
I want that now.
So this was used about 100 plus years ago to sell popcorn and peanuts. It was a real novelty to have popcorn. Some people had never had it before. So it was an early lunch wagon. He had a window to sell from. And there was a steam motor in here, steam heat. The popcorn will last for several days, where oil pop gets rubbery and stale after a day. And that steam power actually was connected to little clowns and balloons or whatever that would draw attention to the wagon and try to bring in business. So long ago in big cities, all the roads were dirt. In the winter, that becomes mud. So some cities will put brick or rock in the roadway. Well, horses don't care where they go, so they have to wash the streets down, and muckers have to shovel up the manure, keep the roads clean. There's an old expression, when the man was up top working, and this was all full of water, he was on the wagon. And after work, he'd fall off and have a beer. So all water, you were on the wagon, and that became popular during Prohibition.
Very cool.
So when the train made it from New York to San Francisco, the spring wagons started coming out. And this was a new invention, having a leaf spring, a little bit of suspension with a little softer ride. When they're sitting this way, they were called a platform spring. When they go from the front axle to the back axle, it was known as a mustache spring. So the brake is a block of wood against the back wheel, and it's your leg muscle pushed that brake on. All the brake on all these wagons is on the right side, which started us driving on the right side of the road in America. You know, they're on the wrong side in the UK.
Yeah.
Long ago, when a man was on his horse, he would stay to the left side of the road. When a highwayman come up to bother him, he could draw a weapon and fight right-handed, so they stayed on the left side of the road. Actually, when buttons came about, a man's buttons open that way so he can draw his weapon. Women's buttons are reversed to men. Only wealthy women could afford button clothing, and their servants button it. It was easier to have them reversed. This here's a covered wagon, but not when they came to California. It was a
that's
cargo
big.
delivery wagon. So the guy that owned this would go around and ask all the merchants, what do you need? Go down, buy all the supplies, and charge them freight coming back up the hill. So a team of mules walks 10 to 15 miles a day, 12 on average. All our towns are spaced 10, 12 miles apart, a day's walk for a team. If you think about where you live, downtown to the next downtown is usually 10 to 15 miles. So empty wagon going to Stockton might take him 3 days to get down the hill, buy all the supplies, maybe 5-6 days to get back up the hill. Even longer if he's on a winning streak at the swing.
Wow, that thing's huge.
So this 4 right here are farm wagons, like a pickup truck nowadays. Very essential to have a farm wagon. But this one is probably our oldest wagon, about 1850. A family came to California in this in 1852. So a good solid wagon. Studebaker made a really good wagon. But the Conestoga Company took a few of the issues this wagon had, put the canopy all the way over the top of the driver, and that became the popular wagon that everybody came to California in. You know, if you arrived with all your bells on, you were doing good. If you happen to break down and you could jingle when somebody's passing by, they would stop to help you. And as a courtesy for helping you, you might give them a bell. So if you arrived with all your bells on, you were doing quite well. This is kind of interesting. The steering on this mechanism here is all wood. You know, it start to wear out and the wheels start crashing into the body. Made a big hole in the side of the wagon. So a fellow named Ackerman steals this idea, but he patents it. When you made a turn, that would lock and wouldn't allow you to overturn and hit the body, and those were called the fifth wheel. Still use that term. Try to keep it all lined up. So dirt and dust will get up in the hub, and the wheels start squeaking, drive a farmer crazy. So when he gets back home, squeaky wheel gets the grease. So these are wheel jacks. They would lift the wagon up, and they're all on with a square nut, so they would break that loose, take it off. They didn't have petroleum grease like we have now. They would use animal fat, whale fat, something like that, greased it up. So, fairly important. This wagon here, this fellow bought wheels and axles, then hand-cut timber and made a big, huge hay wagon. So we'd take that blade out into the field, hand-cut the grasses. After it dries, you get the pitchfork in the wagon. Depend on how many animals you have, how many loads of hay it takes to keep the animals alive all winter. So when you have a load of hay like this and you have to go downhill, nobody can hold that brake on. Nobody's strong enough. So they would roll up on these wheel locks, chain the wheel to it, and drag the wagon down the hill. They found if you put on both wheels, it turns to a sled, and you'll run over your animals. Oh. So it's best to use just one.
Yeah, I could see that.
This wagon was built down in Stockton in 1880, thereabouts, in the Henderson factory. That building's still downtown Stockton. I don't think it's being used, but kind of cool that it's still there. So people came from all over the world for the gold. Chinese arrived fairly early because it was only about a 3-month boat ride for them. And some of them brought these carts and they'd be all bundled up. When they got here, it's all exact fit. So they just hammered together, didn't need any nails or anything. Some would weave baskets on here. They could carry laundry, produce, whatever business. I've seen pictures of men wheeling luggage from the stage stop to the hotel or something. And I've seen ladies with all their children wheeling the family around. This guy took old horseshoes and straightened them out, tacked them on his wheel so his wheel wouldn't wear out. So these carts became popular where 2 people could go to town, 1 horse, have room for a few groceries. But a big horse is hard to handle, so these were developed called pony carts, where a young lady, a young person can handle a pony without any problem. You won't get there very fast, but you'll get there safely. So this here is a lumber wagon, and they realized a mule could pull about 1,000 pounds. So you'd have to guess how much a load of logs weigh, how much the wagon weigh, how many mules they hitch in a team. And then you can see there was no driver. They had men who rode alongside, persuade the team to keep moving. When you're working a team like that, they were known as a teamster.
Oh.
Teamster.
I'm going to open up this back room, show you some cool stuff back here today. this.
Oh, wow.
Holy smokes. Where's my phone?
And then people started donating it. And,
Oh.
So up in the next town of Murphy's, there was a museum for 70 years. The grandchildren inherited the building and sold it. The new landlord wanted such a ridiculous amount of rent, they had to close, and they moved everything down here. As we get things cataloged, we put it out on display. If we find a location, we move it to that display. Eventually, they want to put up a new building and have a full Murphy's display again. We'll see if that happens in my lifetime. And there's a picture of the old museum. The only two pictures of John and Daniel Murphy. Photographs weren't available when they were here in the gold rush. So a gentleman that had no one to cook and clean would buy a box of these paper cuff and collar. He could put those on, put on his jacket, look like you have a dress shirt on. Being paper, when they got dirty, you just throw them away and put on a fresh one. And they usually came with a rolled up lacy piece that looked like a fancy dress shirt. And you always see those in the cartoons curling up on people because they've been rolled up in the box. We had probably the largest Miwok basket and artifact collection in California. We had 3 cabinets like this filled with artifacts. And since it was sitting here in storage, we offered it back to the tribe. And they're going to build their own cultural museum. So it worked out.
Cool.
I wish we could have saved a few pieces, but they took everything. Took everything they wanted anyway.
Family Bible.
Very cool.
So this is some beauty products here. Be nice if you could afford a matching brush and hair and all. Those are tortoiseshell hair combs. These would go into the fire and get hot, and the lady could curl her hair or make waves in her hair. And then when electricity came about, this looks pretty safe.
Yeah.
First electric chair.
So in a gold rush town, if there's no doctor, no dentist, you have a bad tooth, you go to the barber. They will pull that tooth. Well, you'd have to put cloth in your mouth till it stopped bleeding. He'd need to reuse that cloth. So he'd rinse it out the best he can, hang the strips out to dry. If the wind happened to blow, they might wrap around the post and it became the red and white striped barber pole.
Wow.
Interesting.
Very.
I don't think one person could do that.
I was pointing out the hair curler here
Yeah.
when electricity came about. That looks pretty safe, huh?
Yeah.
So you see these Victorian dresses up top. Ladies, people did not bathe back in that period. So when a lady got dressed, she would put on her pantaloons and her corset. And the corsets were hide and whalebone to structure that. And they were hard to clean. So typically she'd put on 6 slips and then this gown. 3 slips were to keep odor and moisture in. 3 slips were to keep dust from getting to that and making a muddy substance. So the lady put on this big heavy gown, gloves, and a hat, and she couldn't breathe because of the corset. So a lot of times they had what were known as fainting couches, where a lady would have to lay down and catch her breath. If you were out in public and you had to go to the bathroom, the bathrooms were usually a room with couches like that, and the bathroom and sinks were in the other room. And if a lady needed to rest and lay down, it got to be known as a rest room.
Did you hear that? Is that how restaurant came about? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, you always kind of wondered why.
Where it started.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes, there's a lot of sayings that sometimes they mean the same thing, but sometimes they've gone another direction. Here's an original Thomas Edison movie projector.
Wow.
So before power, they'd light a candle, put the movie up there, and somebody hand turn the movie through. They still use the term candle power, how strong a projector is. These are also Thomas Edison record players. So those are trumpet and tulip speaker. You'd wind up the spring, and these are the wax cylinders you'd put on, and that was the original records. Edison could never figure out a volume control, so if it's too loud, Mom would put a sock in it, and that would tone it down. It wouldn't be so loud. All the labor and everything the Chinese offered during the gold rush, this is all we were able to save. These are opium pipes and scales down here so they could weigh it up. So when a miner started hanging out in the opium dens, the gossip would be Mr. Jones is becoming hip or a hipster because he'd be in his hip smoking all day.
Oh.
That opium put you off into a dream state, and it got to be known as a pipe dream.
Wow.
These are portraits from wealthy families up in Murphy's. It was quite expensive. You probably had to go to Sacramento or San Francisco for a big portrait like this. The exposure time on cameras was quite long, and people thought if you held a smile for 30 seconds, you'd look like you're crazy. So everyone kept a very solemn face. She was the midwife up in Murphy's, delivered a lot of the babies in 1870, 1880. This is interesting. This is a vacuum cleaner. And the woman would hand pump it and push it along the floor, try to create a vacuum with that. This one, she would have to hold and pump the handle while she pushed it along. And then when these carpet sweepers came about, this thing weighs about 35 pounds.
Oh,
so
gosh.
You got to be strong to push that around.
Thank God for Hoover.
That's true.
Victrola.
Heck yeah.
The guy that started this museum, he collected gold rush things when he was young, and then he got into rocks and minerals. In that lower barn, there's a big collection of rocks and minerals. And then he joined the Navy, so we have a few nautical things floating around. So, we get some sayings from the Navy that you don't realize. When a sailor was out at sea and not feeling well, if a storm was approaching, he'd go below deck so to be under the weather. So when the flat record came about, they were still broadcasting without any volume control. About 1920, these came about, where they put the speaker upside down in the cabinet, and when you opened it, it'd be louder or quieter. So you wind up the spring, flip it on.
Oh, wow.
That's freaking awesome.
Very cool.
You know what? That's Tiptoe Through the Tulips, the original version.
I was gonna say, that doesn't sound like Tiny Tim. Wow, that is just. And when you think about the technology, and they didn't have technology, right?
Right,
So
yeah.
what they were coming up with was pretty incredible.
Yeah, that was pretty good. For no electricity and to broadcast the sound is pretty good. So if they just stand around waiting to be fed, they can get quite long and thick, and it'll cripple up their feet. So one wall over there is all correction shoes, trying to fix up their leg. If they had a bad tendon, they put that on there and they couldn't put their hoof down. These were supposed to be for mud and snow here. I've never seen them used. This is to block rocks. If they kicked a rock, they wouldn't crack a hoof. Around the gold mines, there was explosives. So they put brass or copper shoes on them. No spark, no chance of an explosion. And then this is for tap dancing horses. No, I'm just joking.
Medicine shoe.
Well, because like these are used for when there was ice, so they had, like it was, I guess it's the environment and the terrain. Yeah, I know how many different kinds were.
So these two big wagons right here, Edison created DC electricity, and he wanted someone to improve, so he hires Tesla, and he comes up with AC. And Edison's stubborn. He says, "I'm not having it," so he sells the idea to Westinghouse. Westinghouse creates this electric generator. There's actually one of them on the way down to the next building under that tin roof there, and it needed a paddle wheel to turn it, so it needed fast running water. So the two together weighed 32 tons. They loaded up 10 of them, one at a time, took them down to the local river, got them generating electricity, and ran the wires all the way back to San Francisco, some of the first power in the city. Crazy amount of work.
So really, that's the first hydroelectric
Yeah.
power.
Yep.
Wow. Way back.
And the town below us is called Copperopolis, abundance of copper. So they ran 10 separate wires all that distant.
Wow.
They didn't think electricity could bend. They thought the power would fly off of the wire, so they tried to keep it going as straight as possible. You never get a legal right away from here to San Francisco ever again. So out in Nevada, there's deposits of boron, which is made into borax. So they would load up hay and water, hitch the team up, and go around Death Valley up into Nevada, harvest the boron, go back and process it into borax. So borax is actually good for a blacksmith when they forge weld iron together, it helps hold it together. And when you melt gold down, mix the two together, all the impurities will surface, and you could pour pure bars of gold to transport. So early on, bandits wouldn't steal the gold. It said Union Mining Company on it. You can't go to the saloon and buy drinks for everyone. Everybody knows you stole it. But they figured out how to cheat that later. So a mule, being much smarter than a horse, the mules back here were trained. When they made a turn, they would hop over the center chain, hop over the hitching, pull that wagon around the turn, hop back over, get in line, and keep going. Where a horse would dance around, never do that. And they would put bells on the lead animals. If the bells are ringing, they all knew to keep walking. If the bells stopped, something came up, they would all come to a stop.
Wow.
Interesting communication.
Horse people will argue with me on the mule, but I think a mule is smarter than a horse. So this wagon was used to haul such massive logs. They tried solid wheels instead of spoke wheels. These rotted out, but you can see in this picture they would skid logs down to a staging area, load that wagon, and go off to the lumber mill. Now after they've clear cut a hillside, they have to move further up the mountain, and sometimes there's bums who don't want to work anymore, and they'd be left behind on the skid road.
Wow.
So these are yokes that went around the ox's neck. So an ox is a castrated bull we call a steer, a beef animal. In about 18 months, it's time to go to the butcher shop. So they'll pull some of the larger animals out of the herd, try them out as a work animal. If they cooperate, they're known as an ox. If they don't cooperate, to the butcher shop. They're roast beef.
That's really heavy.
Yeah.
How'd you like to have that thing
And
around
the
your head?
wagons coming to California were all pulled by ox. In the movies, they show horses. Horses won't pull the wagons across the country. You probably could get mules to do it, and it'd be a lot of work, but it was oxen that did most all that. So these three are family wagons known as a Surrey. Their design came from Surrey County, England. So when you have a team hitched up and they're in a full gallop, they will call that dashing along. All the mud and everything that splashes up from the animals, you're protected by a dashboard. When people travel, they would have all their belongings in a trunk. There's always a spot in the back for a trunk. First three letters of Carriage is car. Where do we get that nickname? So this is the classic Surrey with fringe on top. So an upholsterer hand cut that fringe, and it serves a purpose. When it rains and this is soaking wet, water will wick down through there and evaporate quicker. Same on a jacket. When you have that fringe, water will wick in there and evaporate quicker, not just to look cool, although it does look cool.
So that's the Surrey from Oklahoma.
So this is known as a station wagon. Ladies would ride to a train station, get in one of these to go shopping or the theater. So it's an early limo. It had velvet in the ceiling, silk in the upholstery. Some had a platform on the back for a doorman to jump out and open and close the door. Well, the ladies would be in their finest clothes and didn't want dust to get on it, so they needed some sort of a shield from the wind. So being all enclosed like that, they could gossip all they want. You know that Mrs. Jones, bless her heart, I heard. Once you say bless her heart, it's on.
That's
So
right.
these two are called a piano box. The little square box reminded people of a piano. But typically these were used by doctors. The doctor would come visit you. You didn't have to go to the doctor very often. And you could order these from Sears catalog, and they would come in crates, and you assemble the whole thing, save you a couple of dollars. These two right here are called stage wagons, and that's a stagecoach. So that's what wealthy families traveled in. This is what common people traveled in. But Mr. Downing came up with this leather suspension. You can see that thoroughbrace through there, which made a very soft ride while you were traveling. That one's worn out, so it's really rocking. So these also had a nickname of a mud wagon because mud would splash up on you while you're traveling. If you got on board at 9 o'clock in the morning here in Murphy's, you wouldn't get up to our Angels. You wouldn't get up to Murphy's till about 5 in the evening. It was a very slow ride. And the roads now cut through the middle of everything, where the roads used to go out to somebody's ranch and over to somebody else's ranch. And of course you had to say hello, and there was no hurry.
Was there someone that was really known for making, I noticed almost all of these have these wagon wheels. Was there like a company that made the wagon wheels?
Yes, there was several, just like car companies.
Okay.
There was several car, and not everybody was successful. This guy was the prominent stage maker.
Okay.
Everybody from around the world ordered stagecoaches from him. Okay. And when automobiles came out, they fell apart. Very few companies were able. The Studebakers went from wagon makers into car makers.
That's
so
crazy.
some companies were able to transfer and make that transition. One guy had all that equipment to build with, but he didn't want to go into automobiles, so he started making shipping crates. And the stringy package that's in the cushions of the seat became that stringy packaging you see in the old shipping crates. So he went on and probably had another business for another 30 years before they finally closed up. But,
With the 16-shooter.
Yeah.
you know
shotgun.
when they were bringing gold from Murphy's down here and take it to the mint in San Francisco. So when a dishonest man got a $5 gold piece, he'd take his knife and scrape the edge of it. Pretty soon he's got a little pile of gold. He can go to the saloon, a pinch for a drink, a pinch for another. Well, the coins kept getting smaller and smaller because they've already been scraping them. The store owners complained to the mint, and the mint thought about it. They put those little ridges you see on a quarter or $50 so you can tell if they've been scraped. They're still there even though the coins are worthless.
Yeah.
See, I have... Here's a 1849 penny. How big
wow.
How big a penny was. That was the value of copper back in that time.
Wow. That's big.
Like a quarter.
Yeah.
Black Bart was a bandit in the area, and his first and last robbery was right down here by Copperopolis. And so his first one was successful. He ends up robbing about 18, 19 stagecoaches up and down California, comes back, and when he comes back here, there's a young man, the Roleri family that's still in the area, leans out and takes a shot at him. He panics, drops everything, and runs. Well, they find a handkerchief on the ground, and it's got laundry marks. So they start taking the posse, starts taking it to every laundry all the way to San Francisco, and they finally go, oh, that's Charles Bolton, that's our customer right over here. And they were able to arrest him. So he makes a deal with Wells Fargo. I've got a little bit of your gold left. If you give me a short sentence, I'll tell you where it is. So he only has to spend about 4 years in San Quentin for all those robberies, and he disappears when they let him go. So we probably think he had more gold stashed somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't give it all.
I got a big wheel back there. I always forget about that bicycle.
Bicycle.
So on the little wheel on the back, there's a peg, and you would push, then you hop on and off you go, which is fairly easy to get started. And the big pedal made it easier to get rolling. If it was a small wheel, you'd be pedaling like crazy trying to get any speed out of it. So it was slowing down and jumping off and coming to a stop is when people would crash.
Getting off is
And of course, you don't want to hit a curb or a... So this, one of the oldest stagecoaches in California. It came by ship in the early 1850. So they would typically put 3 people here, 3 on the bench, 3 here, 3 on top, and 3 in the back, plus a shotgun and a driver. So when you get in the car and you want a shotgun, it's because of that guy that was up there. So they would ask why you're traveling, not to talk politics or religion. It just causes arguments. If you chew tobacco, sit in the back seat. Don't be spitting from the front. And don't point out where we got robbed last week. It makes everyone real nervous. So it was actually a very rough ride. You were bouncing like crazy. Dust was coming in the windows. And you were packed. You were shoulder to shoulder with everybody. You can see in that picture right there. So it was not that comfortable. But compared to the other wagons, those mud wagons over there, this was pretty nice. Let me give you a last story on the bar here.
Oh, the bar.
This bar was built in San Francisco in 1870. Brought up here about 1872.
Wow.
It was used in a little town called Sheep Ranch. So if a miner ran out of money, well, one last drink before it's time to go.
Looks like the one
A
in
little
Knox.
glass of whiskey is about the same price as a bullet. Whiskey's coming in by the barrel, but bullets are hard to get. So he tried to trade, and it got to be known as a shot for a shot.
Ah.
Actually, today, I just remembered, today in 1789, Elijah Craig distills corn for the first time, puts it up in barrels in a county called Bourbon, Virginia, which is now Bourbon, Kentucky.
Yeah.
And that's where we get bourbon whiskey.
Wow.
One of the bartenders, he wanted something different to decorate, so he saved the tail off a rooster from Sunday dinner, put it in a glass. He liked how that looked, so he started collecting more and more. Another name for a rooster is a cock, and they got to be known as cocktails.
Wow.
In some taverns, they would make clay mugs to drink from, and they'd fashion a whistle on the handle when they made it, so you could signal when you needed a refill. Well, you were out wetting your whistle. In an Irish pub, they sell you pints and quarts. When it's time to pay your bill, you don't want to pay for quarts if you've been drinking pints, so you got to mind your P's and Q's. One last.
One more.
Yeah, I'm here all day for you. Yeah.
One of the earliest alcohols ever created was fermented honey, known as mead. So back in Roman time, when a couple got married, the family would give them enough mead to last them, about a month or so, get them off to a good start. So they went from one new moon to the next new moon, who got to be known as a honeymoon.
You are a wealth of knowledge.
Yes.
During Prohibition, actually those Gordon gins have a label on the back saying it is for medicinal purposes. During the Prohibition, you could have a doctor give you a drink like that. Anyway, they'd have what was known as speakeasies. So if you went, you'd knock on the door, they'd say who's there, and you give them an answer, and they let you in, you have a drink. Let's go over to the one on 4th Street. And as you're hopping around from speakeasy to speakeasy and drinking, your answers start getting sillier and sillier. And so that became knock knock jokes.
Knock, knock.
That's great.
This slot machine here is from the Bell Fruit Gum Company, and these originally were gumball machines. So if you got cherries or oranges, that's flavor gumball you got. If you got lemon, you got nothing, and that's when people associate lemon with being bad. Well, there's more money in gambling. This version was created, and they would give you drink tokens because you're not supposed to gamble in California. Well, if you got 3 bars, the bartender would buy a pack of gum, hide money under it, and pay you. So you were gambling.
Question.
Oh, sure.
What is that there?
That was just a joke by the clampers. You can see in a photograph there that they carried that around on one of their events.
Oh.
It didn't do anything but just make everybody laugh. Now, the revolver in there is real. You can go back there. The highest up in society would join the Freemasons or the Odd Fellows. The miners were too rowdy to get accepted, so they started their own fraternity called E Clampus Vitus. And each word was incorrect in Latin, and they didn't care. So they've evolved over that time into a historical drinking society. So when they get together, they throw an event, And every time they have an event, they have a badge made, so they're always covered in badges. And they bring in and donate money to the museum, so we give them this little corner here.
Cool.
So typically when you see a clamper, they'll have a red shirt with a black vest. A lot of them ride motorcycles. They're usually pretty outspoken. You'll go, oh, that's a clamper there.
That's the powerhouse.
Wow.
Crazy. Angels Quartz Mine Overshot Water Wheel.
Antica Gold Mining Company in Angels Camp. One of the most successful mines in the United States.
Giant Sequoia. Redwood.
AKA.
Crepe Myrtle.
Oh, restrooms if you need them.
Nope.
So cool. Yay.
So this is the end.
JL Case steel threshing machine.
Oh wow. We'll walk by these guys and then we should be done here at the museum. Look at the quartz in the ground.
Yeah.
The trick is don't take too much.
Dang,
That
that's
rosy
cool.
piece right there.
That one was coming up. Look at that. That is cool. That's cool. Could be
Just stepped on a big piece.
just like all over the place.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he said go down or up?
Huh?
He was saying. Well,
I just heard a kid's voice down there. Weird. I see something, some shadows down there.
They made up their old walls back
Yeah, there is somebody down there. Or a bird or something. Oh, yep, it's a bird. But I did hear a little kid. A Liberty truck. Cool.
A mobile air compressor.
And that was the end of our video.
At Angels Camp Museum.
Yeah, it was a very interesting place.
Yes, they got a lot of neat, interesting artifacts.
And we thought it was just like a little place because when you park, it's just like a little house. But no, it's on 3 acres.
Yeah, so you get a lot of old gold mine. Well, a lot of old history.
Yes.
Western history. So, until next time.
See you soon.